YouTube? Ninja Midget here, and this is going to be the complete assembly of the Astra Model 643. Now, this was a tricky gun to do. There were a couple of tricks that I had to employ on this one. I had to do some slight modifying on one of the holes, and I'll show you where that's at and how it might be applicable to your gun. But this was fit to very tight tolerances. You can tell that they really wanted to make a quality product. There were some parts that were just a little bit too snug, and just wouldn't come out or move as freely as they should. And then another thing is this trigger is just a pain to get in, and I tried to figure a way, because it needs to go in like this. I tried to figure a way to be able to hold this back and make that happen. I just could not figure it out because it's a fairly strong spring in here. So let me grab my focus here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so the way this goes in the gun is it's got to go in through this side, and then you're going to be able to get it into a position like this, and it doesn't want to go forward. This little lip right here doesn't want to go forward. And the only way I've found that I can make that go forward is by taking a screwdriver, putting it right down in here like this. You don't want it on the frame of the gun, you want it on the back of that trigger. Just give it a couple taps until it goes in. And there you have it. There's your trigger and your trigger bar in place. That's one of the hard parts of this gun. There's another one that I'll be showing you. But here, let me grab my focus again and focus it out just a little bit so you can see this. That looks pretty good. Okay, now for this, we're using two of these pins on this part of the frame. The short one is the one that goes in right here. This hole right here is where the short one goes. And so what you want to do is you want to, because the pin has to go in from this side, you want to take a punch and you want to push the trigger forward and like this. You want to push that trigger forward until it lines up with that hole. It doesn't take too much. Maybe a smaller punch here. Nope, not quite. There it is. That's got it. Okay, so get a punch through there, and then you can take your small pin and drift that on through. Wiggle around your punch a little bit, and that slides right in place like that. And there you go. That's your first pin in. Now, this is where I had to do some modifying on this hole right here, because this, I had to tap this in with a hammer. It went in very hard, very difficult. It's still a little firm to go in, but it's much better now. So here's what I did to remedy that. I did sand this a little bit with some 320, and that didn't give me the results I was looking for. So what I did is I took, and this is just a simple transfer punch, tape some 320 onto it and put it through this hole and ran it just for a little while to take down maybe 1/1000th, if that, on the inside diameter of that hole. Because this, you have to understand, is being held by a detent. So this thing doesn't need to be real tight. You got a detent down in here, and that's what's going to be holding it. So you don't really need to have a tight pin on that that's being held in by that detent. And this is that detent and spring. So those go down in through this hole right here. Straight down in there. Very good. And now what you want to do is you're going to get your safety started, and you want to make sure that it's lined up so that it's not going to hit the frame. It goes in just like this. Make sure it's not hitting the frame. And then what you want to do is push your detent down while you're wiggling that forward, and you want to hopefully catch that. It does take a little playing around sometimes. You want to just make sure that you keep that detent in place so that it's not going to fly out on you. Wants to be a little bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. You can look in through the side and see, okay, yeah, I still don't have it. So I'm going to need to push it down some more. See if I can get that captured without marking up my frame here. Just a little bit tricky. And I think that might have it. Please have it. There we go. That's got it. Push it in the rest of the way. And there you have it. There's your safety functioning. That's a little tricky to get in. Yeah, definitely a little bit tricky, but not terribly bad. What we want to go ahead and do now is this is our magazine disconnect. And this goes right inside here. Oh, I'm dropping my pens, my punches. It goes right inside here. It goes right underneath the trigger itself. It goes in like this. So you just want to put that in there. And what you need to do is it's going to slip right in just like this. Use a punch or something to kind of move it around in place. It can be a little tricky. There we go. Now it's in place, but that hole for this pin doesn't line up. So what you need to do is take a punch. Usually a little bit of a larger punch works better. And you want to grab it, push it down so that hole lines up, and then get your pin in there. And there you go. That's your mag disconnect. In and functioning. Now another part of this that's tricky is this is your disconnector, and this is something that can be tricky. First of all, this spring in here is very loose. So take some gun grease or whatever. I think it's just anti-seize that I got in here. It's what I had laying around. And that'll help that stick in so that it's not falling out on you, because it is a little bit of a pain to get in here. And what you want to do is you're going to be looking at the gun from the top, and you're going to put this in this orientation. This is where your disconnector is right here. And you want to go in, and there are little rails that this slides into. And it's not easy to get it in there. Sometimes you use a little tool, see if you can get it jockeyed in place. Oh, and your trigger bar. It helps to move your trigger bar out of the way, which is kind of difficult to do with this. So, let's see here. Sometimes it wants to get wedged in there. You gotta just take it out and start over. and you can see those little rails that it slides into in there. You just have to get it. It has to be in the perfect position to go in and slide into those rails. And there's not very much room for you to maneuver around in here with your fingers, especially if you got fat fingers like me. There it is, I got it. So now that's in there. And what I ended up doing was lifting the trigger bar up and letting it just sit on the frame. Okay, and now what you want to do is you want to take a punch and you want to push this back in here, if I can get to it. Push it back. Why are you not going back on me? Is it locked up in there? Nope, not locked up. Just not going in the way it should. Alright, try this again. Since you're still on there. Let's see. Well, that's in the way it should be. Oh, there. Okay, now it's going. Alright, so you can see how I'm moving this. And you want this to snap in just like this. Now, this is where I want to point out one of the problems that I had with this gun. Okay, so what you want to do, one of the problems that I ran into with this gun is, first of all, there's a magazine disconnect, so you want to put your mag in. You got your safety off, and then your trigger, you see, this is what pushes your trigger, pushes your disconnector back. Okay, and one of the things that I found is this, though it doesn't seem to be doing it now, it'll tend to kind of ride up a little bit so that it's hitting right here on the frame. You see how that's hitting on the frame? And it blocks the trigger. And I have to push it back down, and it would do this even with the grips on. So what I did was on my left grip, this is just a little thin piece of copper, and I've got some anti-seize on there, and all it does is it goes and puts a little tiny bit of pressure on that trigger bar so that when I have the grips on, that is not able to slide off, and I have full motion on my trigger. So that's another thing that I had to do to make sure that this was functioning reliably, and that's all it needed, is to do that. So that's something that you might have a problem with it. It might not be something that's an issue with your gun, but it was definitely a problem with mine. Now, for another difficult part, and this is a part where you might be launching things. This is your hammer spring. Now, there's a way to get the hammer in, and that is you push this plunger down all the way past this hole. That's what this hole is here for. This hole is here to capture this plunger on your hammer spring. That's what it's there for. The thing is, this doesn't go all the way through the gun, so it's going to be hard to make sure that you have the thing in the right orientation, or hard to make sure that you have it captured. So what I do is I'm just going to go ahead and put a little mark on here all the way around so that I know when I have this thing captured. Because trust me, it's a pain when that thing flies, and I did have it fly on me once. So there we go. Got our little marks on our punch so that we know when we've got it captured. And what we're going to do, these are the parts that you need for this area of the gun. There are 2 pins that can fit in this hole. What you want is the pin that's a little bit longer and has a head on it. That's this pin right here. This other pin, that's not for this part of the gun. So what we want to do Oh, we're also going to need this little part, but that comes in the last part of this. Alright, so what you're going to do is, see that little hole down there? That is where your hammer spring goes, straight down in there. And now, you can see it through that hole. So what you do is you take yourself a good sized punch and run that down, and it's very stiff, very difficult to get down there. So you're going to run that down until you can capture that. And you want to make sure that you have your punch all the way in. Come to think of it, maybe it needs a little bit of a thinner punch here, huh? Maybe I'd get that through if it was a little punch. Something not so meaty. Let me see here. Alright, we'll try this. Little teeny punch. There, that's got it. And I can feel it in there. Just don't want to bend this punch. Now, you can see I got my little punch in there. Now, your hammer goes in like this. And what you're going to want to do is line it up. Oh, and another thing about this. You can see this little lip in here, inside this hole right here. That is part of your disconnector. So you're going to need to pull your trigger, hold on to that, get your hammer in, and the strut has to go down on top of the spring, which of course is a pain. And after all that, oops, put it in the right way. After all that, see if you can line up that hole. And the head goes on this side. So you want to line up that hole. There you go. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then you can release your hammer spring. Oh, and one thing. You want to push this out just enough so that you can get this spring in here. And this is where this comes in. This goes in just like this, slips down like this, inside here, just like that, and then there's a little hole on the side here that this part of the spring goes in, and then the other part of the spring wraps around and goes in this little hole over here, which is kind of a pain to get in there. Don't want to mar up your nice slide. And there it is. Okay, and then you just go ahead and tap, tap, tap it back in. And there you go. And you want to make sure and cock your hammer. There's your hammer cocked. Excellent. And that is the most difficult part of the gun. The rest is easy peasy. The rest is going to be good. So, let's see here. Now that we've got the top of the gun functioning. Oh shoot, don't do that. I don't want to do that. That's not a good thing to do with your gun. Alright. So, let's see. Now, we don't need the stuff for the slide. What we need is our stuff for... Let me see, is that focused? Yeah, that looks pretty good. We need this, and we need this little tiny spring here, and we need this pin that has the taper on it, because that fits right in here. So, what we want to do is this spring is what gives you your spring tension on your mag release. It sits right there. Sits right in here on the frame. And it's a little spring, so you want to be careful not to have that thing falling over on you and losing it. Okay, so that goes in there like that. This little piece, kind of a pain to get up in there, but am I doing something wrong here? I'm not. No, there it goes. Okay, yeah, once it's flush, put your mag in. That holds it flush so that you can move around, do stuff you need to do here. So, what you want to do is you're going to line up your spring, then line this up on that hole. Oh, and this goes like this, so that it captures that spring. Which is not always terribly easy. There we go, that's got it captured. Now, you're going to take your pin, and you need to wiggle this around a little bit. That slides on in, locks down in place like this. And there is your mag release. Done and done. Excellent. Okay, now, let's see, what else for this part of the gun? I think, let's see, the rest is just the slide. Yeah, I got a couple of pins for the slide. Well, this goes on the frame. Oh, our back strap, of course. Our back strap safety. Where is that? That's where that other pin goes. There's our back strap safety. So that just slides in like this. Slides in like that. And there's not much tension on this at all, so you can slide this in. As a matter of fact, when you're handling it, you got to be careful that it's not falling out on you. Okay, then there's your lanyard loop. That goes right there. And what we'll do now is we will go ahead and put on our grips so that nothing's falling out on us. So, there we go. There we go. And put our other side on. Go. That's got that. Okay, and there we are. Okay, so there's our frame assembled. Now, what we need to do is get our extractor in first, and your extractor is pretty darn simple. It's just, this is the spring for your extractor. It goes right down there. Your extractor, of course, goes in like this. It's very obvious the orientation it needs to go in, and you can see the hole for it right down there, and it's your little silver pin that you use for this. So get that captured, and it just slides right down like that. Very simple. Interesting way they designed this gun was the way the pins are. And where's my other pin now? Where'd it go? There it is. Aha! It was hiding in there. It's hiding inside my little cap. Oh, I hate that feeling when you think you've lost something. And now, this I thought was going to be difficult, but it's not. So what you want is you want to put your spring in first. Just drop it on down. Then your firing pin goes in just like this, of course. Drop that on down. And then this, if you look at where this hole is right here, this needs to go in like this in order for that to be able to capture it. And this is not as hard as it might seem. It's actually pretty darn easy. So you put it in, and hopefully what is about that orientation. And then what you can do is you can take, I just took a screwdriver, get your pin ready. And if you take a screwdriver, you can push you can push that down and hopefully not let it go launching into your basement, because that would really suck. Can't tell you how many gun parts I've got that are in my basement somewhere, rusting away. Okay, now, so maybe was it the smaller screwdriver? Yeah, because you can go in like this. Get it in just enough. So, oh wait, is it going in? Oh, I think I am putting it in wrong. I think it needs to go down. I think notch side needs to go down. I think that's what's going on here. I think that notch side needs to be going down. And that is it. So notch side down. And there you go. Okay, assembled, slide assembled. And we don't have any parts missing, or any parts left. It's a bad thing when you have parts left. Okay, so what we want to do, slide this so that we can see our little P symbol there. And we're going to go ahead and get this in place. Let's see. Goes on just like this. Line it up so that it's approximately matching where it needs to be, where it needs to go in, and boom. And we are good to go back in the gun now. So, take and do this. Let our slide come forward. Then we can go ahead and twist it on back around. Then, there it goes. Okay. Okay, so magazine disconnect is functioning. Now, and she fires. And she fires. And she spits out rounds. Snap caps. Alright, well, that was kind of an adventure. But, definitely not an easy gun to work on, but a fun gun. Just because of its unique design, the way it functions. I love this gun. Very cool old gun, very different looking. But anyway, that's the complete assembly of the Astra Model 643. I hope this helped out some people out there. This is one of those guns that there's not many of them out there, but I'm sure there's someone who's going to be looking around eventually, and you'll find this video, and hopefully this helps you out. Thanks for watching.